Hi folks, today's video is going to be on the LiPower or LiPower, depending on how you want to pronounce it, DC Control Box. You see two of them sitting just there. Look, there's the larger version of it, which has got a few more sockets, and the smaller standard version there. Now these things might come in handy for anybody that just wants to go down the DC route. You see a big bluetti lump sitting just there. If you're not bothered about going down the AC route, you certainly wouldn't need something like that. If you're not bothered about breaking your back when you're trying to move it around, you certainly wouldn't need something like that. But if you want to go DC only, these things just might be a handy little solution. Right then, let's have a nosy at these then. The LiPower DC boxes. This is the one with the more sockets on it. DC2 and DC1 version sitting just there. So what we've actually got on this, the DC sockets only. A couple of cigarette outputs up the top. They can output at 10 amps. There's two DC 5521s just there that can output 5 amps. And then we're going on to USBs. USB-A's, standard USB-A's at 2.4 amp, and a couple of QC3 USB-A's, 18 watts, and two 45 watt PD USB-C's on this particular model. A little bit of a gauge there for voltage and battery capacity, and an on-off switch, which is quite handy. Turning it on and off instead of just disconnecting from the battery all the time. Now on the bottom of that, you'll see there, look, there are 4 Anderson connectors. Now these are inputs and outputs. I'm just going to be using the inputs today to test these out, but apparently what you can do, because they're all input and output, if you've got a couple of these, which I just happen to have here, look, you can actually daisy chain them. So what you can do is feed this one directly from any 12 volt or 24 volt battery that you've got laying around, or if you don't want to use a car battery, you treat yourself to a lithium battery, leisure battery, and connect the feed from the battery into the bottom of this. What you can then do is daisy chain another connection from that, perhaps even, I don't know, through to a neighbouring tent or something or other, and feed that one from the same battery. So you don't have to get 2 batteries, you just have to make sure, suppose, that the cable running across was out of the weather, or the connections certainly. I mean, the cable will be fine, but yes, you could run that in one tent, that in another tent, just the one battery, as long as you do not draw through any of these or combination of any of these more than 50 amps. So if you're running that one at, I don't know, 20, and you're running that one at 20, you're going to be well within. Now the 50 amp limit does not refer to the battery. You can get a 200 ampere hour lithium battery if you want to run one of these, because the draw is determined by the sockets. All of these sockets have the necessary circuits in there to tell the battery what to give, if you like. So it's not going to be a case of connecting a 200 ampere hour battery and stuffing 200 amps straight up the backside of this. It doesn't work like that. Get your 200 ampere hour battery. If you're pulling a 5 amp load off this, maybe a fridge or anything like that, perhaps out of one of these, it'll only be pulling 5 amps out of that battery, and you'll be nowhere near exceeding the 50 that's allowed to run through these, or any combination of these, even if you're running 2 of them. Now on the back of that one, you'll notice there's a little bit of a bracket just there, look, and that's for mounting it. If you want to mount it in your camper van or whatever, or in your shed. I've just rigged one up earlier actually, because you'll notice on that one that it's not there. But what I've done is I've rigged it up in my van, in the place where my head tends to be when I'm sleeping in the van. So I'm just thinking, if I don't want to dig the bluetti out or dig the Montec out, I could just take a car battery. If I'm only going for one night, not bothered about any AC, I might just run off a car battery on one of these things. Right, I found an old car battery laying about, spare one that I have laying around. Calcium battery, 60 ampere hour, just double check, because I've not looked at this for a while. Just double check that it's actually got a bit of juice in it, which is quite awkward with one hand. But yeah, we're showing 12.44 volts on that. Okay, there's one end of the cable on the battery terminals. They do actually supply straight from the factory these cables. They come with M8 ring connectors, but it only takes a few minutes to alter them to suit, and I decided I was going to go with the old croc clips on these. Now they supply a 5-metre cable, and I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on that. Does it 5 metres? There's bloody loads of it, look, so it just goes on forever. But then again, I suppose if you were connecting 2 units up, one in each tent, but of course it's going to add to the postage cost, because it's a fair old lump of cable. The other end of it is stuck up the bum of the small unit there, look, on the Anderson. That's the small DC1 type. Now the clip I was talking about earlier, the mounting bracket, I've already fitted just there onto my cabinet in the back of the van. My thoughts were, as I said before, I set my bed up in that area just there, so I'm just thinking my head's going to be round about right where that bracket is. It's going to be dead handy for powering stuff on the night, phones, projector perhaps, keeping an eye on the fridge connection, so on and so forth, maybe running the tablet, watch a film, etc., or some speakers. But anyway, that's the little bracket, and there's the box already wired up, ready to go. So just have a look at how that fits on there. It's dead easy. Just pop it in, find a little slot at the back, bring it down till it clicks, and that's it then, fitted on the cabinet, and simply lift it off when you've finished. Okay, here's the larger unit in action. Just unclip the small one, clip this one straight in. They share the same mounting brackets, and it's actually reading 12.2 volts there, showing capacity as on the ring on the outside there's less than half. Now I've got 2 USB-Cs running off this at the minute, into a couple of power banks, and I think it's looking like they can actually do the 45 watt, but it appears to be a shared circuit. Now when you can actually see those numbers on there, 3315, so in effect 48 in total. Now if you take one of them out, you can see the other one does actually raise up, so it appears to be a shared circuit, 45 watts PD across the pair of those. Whether that's the same for the USB-As, I don't know. And also I think this unit is definitely reading directly from the voltage of the battery. So if I put the fridge in there, you should hear it start up. Yeah, there it goes. So that's the fridge fired up, which is currently warm. It's at 14 degrees in the minute, and it's trying to get down to 2, I think I've set it at. You can see the battery indicator on there showing approximately half capacity in the battery as well, but it started up fine, showing 11.6, 11.5 volts going into the fridge. Started up fine from a warm start, the compressor's whirring away, but they can hear that. But because this thing's reading directly from the voltage of the battery, that gauge now running the 2 USB-Cs and the fridge has pulled down to 11.9 now, and that reminds me of the very first version of the Montec, which was reading the volts directly from the battery. That gauge that Hobotech referred to as the guesstimeter. It's going to be the same thing with this. There's obviously no shunt in there, but then again, for the price, what do you expect? They're not expensive units. I would be tempted, I would think, because I've got a car battery on this, I would be tempted probably to go with a lithium iron phosphate battery, because they're topping out at 12.8 volts when they're full. Much less likely I would have thought to drop below the 12. However, it has dropped below the 12, it's still running in the fridge. Which is a surprise to me, because I thought they relied on 12, but it's humming away perfectly fine. And charging up an iFerry there on the left side there, iFerry power pack, thanks Laurel, and also charging up a super tank as well, which is pulling in 33 watts, 32. But yeah, it's definitely sharing it out between the pair of them. If I pull one of them out, the other one jumps up. And again, back up onto 12.1 volts, so it's definitely reading directly off the voltage of the battery. Pop that back in, we'll see the volts drop. 12.1 at the minute, yeah, 12 now. But yes, I would definitely run it on a lithium iron phosphate, I think, or a leisure battery. But yep, that's it. It's working away like a trooper. Okay, moving on to the smaller one. Well, that one fitted up now. Drawbacks to the smaller one: only one cigarette socket. Still has the two 5521s. Still has the same arrangement of USBs. But on this one, only two Anderson sockets, where the other one's got four. But I mean, why you'd need four is beyond me. This is plenty enough for piggybacking. You could even piggyback to a third, I suppose, or daisy chain if you like. But less sockets on this one, but in my opinion, a nicer screen than the little tiny one on the other one. Much bigger screen there. Well, let's see how this one performs. So again, back in with the USBs. Okay, that's the iFerry fired up. Slight drop in voltage. Putting the super tank on there as well, the Zenjo. See what happens to the voltage. So they're both running now. Yeah, it drops. Yeah, same again. It's reading it directly off the battery voltage. But to be fair, that battery, I charged it. Crikey. This is a bit naughty. Probably about 4 months ago. And it's been sat in the house for 4 months, so I'm guessing we'll get much better results fully charged. Let's see again if that one can cope with the fridge going in. Well, the fridge has started. There was the beep. See if the compressor's running. Yes, it is. If you can pick that up on my microphone. Again, showing half charge on the battery, 11.5 volts, and that again drawing three things now, showing 11.7. I'm pretty convinced it's going to be because it's been a few months since that battery was charged up. I'm going to do a follow-up on this. I'm going to recharge the battery tonight, do a follow-up and see what kind of results I get then. Okay, cheers, bye for now.